Sal, sorry if I'm a little bit late. Thank you for joining me today. We've got lots of exciting topics to talk about in the wonderful, mystical, gorgeous world of tarot. It's a very special time to be doing this presentation because we are currently in Australia and will be in America tomorrow, in Canada tomorrow, having a full moon. It's like a super moon and there's a whole lot of incredible energy, and there's going to be an eclipse, so that can often bring up a lot of stuff for people. I'll talk about that a bit more later. Thank you everyone for joining me. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go through some of the big topics that have come up in the Facebook group and on the Q&A board in your Udemy course this month, basically. So I'll just go through and find the ones that I think are going to appeal to the most people, and I'm going to answer those for you. And you can also ask me any questions that you've got about the tarot. Now, I do request if you ask me those at the end. It just works a bit better with the flow of what we're going to do. But before I start, just pop in the chat box where you're joining me from and who's here, and say hello. Before I begin, I'd just love to thank Cassandra Quillette. I hope that's how I say your beautiful name. It's such a beautiful name. I hope I'm saying it right. Krupa Barrero, Megan Blatchford, Lucia. Here we go. McGinley. Hey, I can say that one. And Gunet Kualamba for your amazing reviews that you posted on the Udemy board in the review section. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Who is here with me today? Hello, Candice! You made it, joining me from Florida. I hope you're all starting to get that sun. I'm very jealous because I know you guys get nice and sunny and we're about to go into winter. Hello, Marcy. Lovely to see you. Who else is here with me? So I'll just go over what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to go into the courts today, like the court cards and some of the complications that come up and how you can solve those. I'm going to talk about what happens when you get a lot of knights in your reading and what that can mean, how it can actually be something more than just, pulling additional cards to see if it's a person or not. I'm going to talk about the yes-no topic because it seems to come up a lot, and what questions you should tailor for yes no. So basically there are some questions you should just not be asking when it comes to yes no, and how to get the best answers and the best readings for your clients out of yes no. We're also going to look at that time honored old chestnut which nearly pops up in the Facebook group every month, how to answer when your client says what does he think of me or what does she think of me, and the best way to answer that question. And we're going to look a little bit more about just the Facebook group and the energy of the Facebook group. And we're going to veer a little bit into those of you who are really interested in starting a business, or you're interested in earning income as a reader, and you want to know those questions like, any advice that I've got around quitting 9 to 5. So I'm going to go into a bit of that for you. And also, how do I know when it's time for me to start charging readings? Like, what's the perfect time? So I'm going to cover all of that for you today. We've got lots here. Who else? We've got Cynthia. Hello, lovely. I think I'm answering your question today. I think if you ask the question about the court cards, then that's that, Cynthia. You're getting answered. Tiara, hello from Seattle. It's hot in the 90s, Candice. That's funny when I hear that, because obviously for us in Australia, we are a third of that with Celsius, so that's about in the 30s for us. Bawana, hello from Nepal. Hello, Talia from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, near where my sister lives. In Vancouver, from another BC person, Leslie, hello. And hello, Jennifer Thomas. I'm going to assume, with my limited knowledge of US geography, that NC is North Carolina, and I hope that I'm right. Hi, Leslie. Hello. How are you, my love? Hello, Biwoo. Hi, Karen. Wow, that's like bang, bang, bang. I've got 3 people here who are all in my VIP Advanced Tarot Training Program. Hello, guys. How are you? Hello, Rosemary. Hi. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. So I'm just going to get started now. And as I said, if you've got questions, try to post them towards the end so I don't lose them in the feed, because the feed goes like, and sometimes I can't even get it. I'm right. NC is North Carolina. There we go. I read too many historical novels, I think. That's how I remember that stuff. Question. Agnostic people reading tarot cards. Okay, Jessie, awesome question. I will answer that after I get through all of these topics. So just hold on and I'll get that towards the end. And if I forget, please tell me, but I should remember that one. Okay, so first we're going to start with Shalini's question. Now, she asked about this system that I use in this course that you learn about pulling the court cards and about how to know if it's a person or a situation or a personality or basically what the deal is. Now, the first thing to remember is that I am yet to meet a person who studies the tarot that goes, I love the court cards, they're my favourite cards, they're the best, and I know what to do every time. Like, no one I've ever met does that. The court cards are confusing. People write whole entire books and essays and blogs on them. They do take longer to learn, and they do take longer to integrate into your readings and feel comfortable with them. So please don't fret if you're in this beginner level course and you're freaking out about them, because it's actually quite normal. Now, and also I might say to you, so you don't get overwhelmed, when I say this system is how I determine if it's a court card or like what it is, you don't have to do the system. Some people, after they've been practicing for a while, don't do the system. They just automatically know. Some people never do the system, or they have another system. So please keep in mind that is not the universal system that every single tarot reader on the planet uses. It's what works for me. It's what I was taught. And I don't always use it because sometimes I just intuitively know, or sometimes the question is so blindingly obvious that I don't need to pull an additional card. So a question like, about pregnancy and, am I going to have a baby or something along those lines, you pull a page and you don't need to pull additional cards, because often a page means a child. So there are some times that you don't need to do that. So the question Shalini was asking was that with the second card you pull to say, is this a person or is it a personality trait I need to embrace? So in the Kings or the Queens, for example, she was asking about the third card. So that second card, don't interpret that at all. Just use it as a confirmation to say, okay, yes, it's a person, or no, it's not a person. The third card, if it's positive or negative. Now, sometimes that can be tricky because sometimes it's what's called a neutral card, or if it's another court, that could be a neutral card. So it just often means, okay, don't worry too much about that for now, whether it's positive or negative. Just know that there's someone impacting you in your life. But if it's a very obvious negative card, so say, for example, you get a King of Pentacles, and you want to know, is this a man in my client's life, or is it something she needs to be more of? And she pulls another, say like a court card of another description. So you go, okay, it is about a King of Pentacles. And say that third card is something like the Three of Swords. So with an example like that, now the Three of Swords is obviously comes up straight away as something you would think would be a negative impact. I would, and again, it is always up to the reader. No one ever likes to hear that. I don't like to hear that. I don't even like to say that. But there's no right or wrong. Like, you're not going to get, struck down by lightning for getting this one wrong. But for me, it is about, okay, generally, yes, I will interpret it, but only if it makes sense in the rest of the reading. So I know that's a bit vague, but think of it like this. Like if she's asking a love question about, a future of this man, or she's single and she wants to know if she's going to meet someone, and then she pulls a king and she's a heterosexual woman and she's looking for a male partner, and then it looks like, yes, it's a person, and it looks like there might be some heartbreak, then and then say the last card in the whole thing is like an Eight of Cups, like walking away, or a Five of Cups, which is about being disappointed, then those parallels would make me think, okay, yes, you might meet someone, but it might not last, and you might feel like you're going to get your heart broken a little bit. So that's an example of how contextually, with the context, it could make a lot of sense to interpret it as that way if the rest of the cards are reinforcing or supporting that. And of course, there's no way to know. I mean, we can't give you every single scenario for every single reading and every single card. And that's actually one of the reasons I really encourage you, when you have finished this course, or at least once you've learnt all the cards, to go and do the intermediate level ones, the how to give career readings and life purpose ones, and the how to give, so the love readings ones, because in those courses I go into exploring question by question. So those more, and then you can see how those patterns and those card combinations fall into place. But you'll also see the bigger picture of how a reading is supported. Like you learn more that the connections in a whole spread, so that it's not just one card in this position means one thing and has no relationship to the rest of the readings. Now, as you get more and more experience, and as I said, as you kind of study more and go more deeper into individual questions like in those courses, you'll start to see that being a great reader, part of that is to not just, I guess, I don't know what the word is, colour by numbers or whatever, but it's not just, okay, this card means this in this, so it has to mean this and it has to mean this. It's actually often you take the whole reading into account and go, how does this card connect with this card? Like, how are they working with each other to form a story? And so in a situation like that, that's a prime example. Those stories get formed. But if it was, say, for example, it was just a card that, you know, like a negative card, but it didn't make sense like with the rest of the reading. It didn't like, yes, there might be a bit of negativity, but it's not really, the rest of the reading generally seems positive, then you wouldn't have to interpret it as literally or go into it and say necessarily she's going to get her heart broken. It might be just, you know, like, yeah, okay, this person might have a bit of a negative impact upon your life. Doesn't have to be such a big thing. But again, it's up to you as the reader to make those choices. And the only thing I can suggest is try them in your readings. Again, that's why I like you to practice on Teddy or on supportive, loving people in this group, and try them and just see which feels right, and then stick to one system. Because that's how you'll stop getting muddled. And I often say, as much as I encourage you, I don't want to be the one who says only learn from me. If you want to learn from other tarot teachers, that is fantastic. But keep in mind, the more you fill your mind with different ways of tackling the same issue, the more you're kind of going to freak out when it comes to doing a real reading. If someone's sitting in front of you or on Zoom and you're needing to be intuitive and you're needing to concentrate and you're thinking of 7 different strategies, that's going to mess you up a bit. So find a strategy that works and stick to it. So most of the time I would say, yes, I do interpret that third card. I just don't interpret the second one. So I hope that roundabout got to where I was meant to go. Here we go. Hi, Diane, another one of my advanced girls, ladies, I should say, not girls, although she's very girl-like and beautiful. Candace, you're struggling with moving. Cool. I'll answer that after, honey. I'm just going to answer all questions at the end. Okay, so I hope that's helped anyone who struggles with the courts and goes with that, you know, with that third card, what do I do with it? Do I just leave it? Do I ignore it? Do I throw it out and hope it goes away? Do I try to integrate it with the rest of the reading? Now, so who asked this question? Cynthia, who is here. So Cynthia asked about a reading. It was a 7-card spread and she got 3 nights and she wanted to know what this means. Now, first of all, these are, I know it sounds weird, but I get excited by those kind of readings because when you've got a massive dominant like that, then straight away you don't even need to start thinking this one means this in this position and you know, going through that mental thing in your head. You can straight away say to this person, wow, you've got a lot of forward movement going on in your life, okay? Because nights are about moving forward and maturing to become the king and the queen. So they're often off on a quest or a journey. So you could be very, very comfortable and confident in saying you're definitely on a quest here. You're on a journey. It's very important. And, you know, not just a vague way of saying that, like a gypsy in the fair, but you know, this is a really strong indication that you are moving forward. And, you know, that's especially that Knight of Pentacles in particular, who's a very strong, grounded knight, who is probably the best of all the knights in terms of, you know, being able to achieve your goals. He definitely is a strong signal if you get out of 7 cards, highly unusual to get that many knights, that the horses are going forward. Horses mean charge forward, just like in the Chariot as well. So that's a definite good sign for me that there's a lot of movement in their life and they're moving forward. They're not just sitting on the couch waiting for things to come to them. They're actually actively engaged in improving their journey. Now, she asked the question about when the knight shows up in the environment. And this is an excellent question because, as I've mentioned before, most of the time, or maybe not before unless you've been watching these seminars, but I also mentioned it in the career reading course, when a court card shows up in the environment, most of the time this means that it's a person. Okay, so it's and I'm talking the overwhelming amount of the time, because the environment is about where it's taking place and who is impacting upon it. the situation in your life. So if a court card shows up, then most of the time it's going to be a person. Now, the knights, though, it can very, very rare occasions might represent something like a company. So in that case, like a situation. So say, for example, you're asking, what do I need to know about my company moving forward? Then you could treat that environment knight as representing your company. So a fledgling, it's on its way, and depending which suit it is. If it was the pentacles, I'd say it's a good sign. If it's the swords, I'd say there might need to be a bit of grounding going on. So it would actually depend on which of the suits it falls into. But most of the time, however, it would probably be a person who is on their way to being a king or a queen. Okay, so it's a person impacting upon the question that is on their way to being a king or a queen. And it's not always a negative. I don't like to say that the knights are negative because they're not. There can be a lot of positive qualities in a knight. But say for instance, and I go into this in the love readings course, you are a woman in your 30s or a man in your 30s and you are wanting to meet a soulmate, or you're wanting to ask about the person you're dating and is this my long-term partner, and they appear as a knight, I would say, yes, there's a lot of good qualities in this person, but they might not be ready for the level of commitment that you're ready for, basically, because a knight is not yet a king or a queen. They're on their way. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them. And if it's someone in their 20s, keep in mind, that's actually, the late teens and early 20s is a natural place for a knight to be. Like, we're not expected to be kings until we mature. So that wouldn't be such a problem for me. But I would start to be a little bit concerned about a knight showing up in the environment in a love reading for someone who really wants to get married. So I hope that makes a bit more sense. So it is contextual. Not always the same black or white answer. It will depend on the question, and it will depend on what the rest of, as I said, depending on what's going on in the rest of the reading, but mostly it will be a person. As I said, very rarely would it be where something's taking place. Okay, so I hope that helps. I think so. Patrick wants to know, how do I know when I'm ready to charge for readings? And I love this question because there is no one answer that fits everybody. And that's for the simple reason. So I do cover this a lot in Build Your Spiritual Business on a Budget, like how to know how much to charge and when you're ready, how do you know? But a blueprint for me is that, as I said, it's different for everyone. If you say you're already really strongly connected to your intuition, you've done a lot of intuitive training and you already feel really powerful and strong in this area, then it might be quicker for someone who hasn't done as much of that, if that makes sense. So people who come into this course that have done maybe how to be psychic and psychic readings intermediate level, they've practiced all those assignments, they've worked really hard at doing the channeling exercises that I teach in that. Then they come to tarot, they might find it a lot quicker. It moves quicker because they've been practicing already some of those things that make readings go to a higher level quicker. If you're just in a normal kind of practice, I would definitely say, look, I would allow for at least 50 readings that you've done and received positive feedback on. Now, that doesn't mean you've got 50 reviews or 50 testimonials, because not everyone will give those testimonials. But if you feel like you have connected and resonated with at least 50 readings, and I don't mean 3-card ones, I mean proper Celtic crosses or horseshoe, then that's probably where I would say you're ready to start charging. If you, then I'm just going to add this little disclaimer, if you feel ready, I mean, it is up to you. It's not about, well, I have to do this because, it's not a running race. It's whether or not you feel ready. And I would just be very super conscious about any blocks you have beforehand. I learned this the hard way. That's why I created the course, Boost Your Psychic Gifts with EFT Tapping, because I was so scared that I was going to get judged. And that really blocked me a lot when I was building my business in the beginning. I had to work on the fear that I'd get it wrong. And I had to work on the fear that I'd make mistakes and I'd be howled out of town and that my reputation would suffer and I would go bankrupt and I would be homeless on the street because I'd put all my eggs in the basket of being a professional reader and all those fears. So deal with your fears first as much as you can. For some people, we just throw ourselves in the deep end like the fool, and we, like I have before, and we just, sink or swim. And we swim, but that's the hard road. I would definitely take some time to make sure that your mindset is feeling confident and not worried and anxious about all the other stuff, because you've got enough things to worry about when you're trying to build a business than, being concerned that you're going to get things wrong. So I'd look at definitely maintaining that and healing that too. Did my screen just go funny? No, I don't think it did. I think just the light went funny. So I hope that's helped, Patrick. But yes, in a nutshell, I would say start with the 50 readings. That's how I would do it. Now, Kimmy, advice. So this kind of falls into the same question. Kimmy asked the advice about quitting and doing, quitting her 9-to-5 job and starting readings full time. And I just want to thank everyone who commented on that, because there were some beautiful comments on that. And probably the common thread and the common thing that most people said, which I 100% agree with, is try it first. For me, if you talk about my journey, I talk about how I took the fool's journey and I just quit my job and I said, I'm going to be a healer and I'm going to be a tarot reader, and I ran off and did this and caused myself all sorts of drama and chaos and emotional breakdowns and probably earned myself many grey hairs. Not the path I recommend, but I will preface that by saying that I worked in a shop managing psychics, so I was already in that industry. And I worked with crystals and oracle cards and tarot cards every single day, like 4 or 5 days a week. And so people were coming into the shop and I was giving them readings already. So I was kind of already, I was seeing how it worked. I had exposure to the reality of being a reader as a professional from the awesome, wonderful women and men that I managed. And I also got to kind of see the ups and the downs. And so I kind of had that preparation beforehand. So when people say, try it first, start earning on the side and build up enough income or build up enough testimonials so that you can launch and fall back on it, that's definitely the best advice. The second advice I would give, and this is probably where a lot of tarot readers and healers go wrong, is that, and I don't want to put anyone off it, I want everyone who wants to be in this group to become a professional reader, because it's an amazing job and it changes people's lives in such a gorgeous way, and it can give you incredible flexibility and freedom and a dream lifestyle. But I would say you will have to have a little conversation with yourself. Again, these are things that I wish people had told me when I started, about the fact that you're going to be running a business and you have to take that seriously. And so I advise you to learn about how to run a business, particularly an online business. Now, I have courses about that. I have a psychic business course on the Psychic Healing Academy. You can reach out to me at team@saljade.com. It's all about how to get started, how to set yourself up, how to market yourself, how to attract more clients, how to keep your mindset going. So I have programs on that if you want to know more. Or find your own path, but please, unless you're already really smart at business and you're already really smart at marketing, that is my biggest advice. Get yourself in the mindset of, okay, if I do this, it's not just a hobby, I've got to get serious about it, and I'm going to have to learn about what it means to be an entrepreneur and what it means to run your own business. And that means a whole lot of things. Like, as I said, it's the best decision I ever made with my life. I love it. I wouldn't change it for a second, but there is no denying that there has been times where I have collapsed on the carpet in tears and gone, what on earth am I doing? Especially when it comes to learning the world of marketing, which has never been in my background, and to have to sort of become really good at selling myself, which even with my drama background is just not easy. A lot of healers and tarot readers find it not easy. And yet, if you make a decision that you want to be a professional full-time reader, it's something you do need to learn to do. So it's not impossible. Sometimes it's a mindset thing. Sometimes it's a practical thing. But just keep that in mind, that try it first. See if you love the tarot. See if you fall in love with it and think, I'm so drawn to this. I really want to earn income from this. And then see if you can get some clients and just build it up while you've still got the security of your full-time job. If there's any way you can go part-time, that's great, because the bread and butter stuff always supports you in those slow times, or if you're going through a crisis, or if you're building up your audience. And social media takes time to build up. Like any kind of thing that you're doing online does take time. And I also have a free resource for those of you who haven't seen it that's on my YouTube channel that's just called The 3 Essential Tips to Grow Your Tarot Business. I can pop it in here as well. So I would watch that because that kind of gives you just information, advice on how to get started as well, and just some of those reality checks to make. I don't like the word reality checks because I think everyone should follow their dreams, but these are just things I wish I had done that probably I would have earned money a lot faster and not had to put myself through this exhausting cathartic journey ending up on the carpet a lot of times. So I hope that's helped, my love, with Kimmy and anyone else who wants to quit the 9 to 5, fall in love with the tarot, practice all you can, and then think about, okay, do I feel ready to start a business? Maybe I could just do it part-time and earn a little bit on the side until I feel ready to quit my job, or to find alternatives to having a part-time job until I can build it up as a full thing. And start thinking seriously, as I said, whether it's one of my courses or someone else's courses, about how to run a business, and especially like a tarot business. Like, get really serious about starting to do that, even in little steps, because it is something you will need. I wish it wasn't. I wish I didn't have to do it all, but it is something you need if you are serious about earning a full-time living as a tarot reader. Even if you go and work on a psychic hotline or something like that, and someone's employing you, you still need to learn how to get yourself out there and be visible. So that is definitely a skill set that some people are better at than others, and some people just need a bit of training. So I hope that has helped Kimmy and anyone else who's thinking about quitting their job. As I said, that's I want you all to do that if that's where your passion is driving you. Now, what else did anyone know? Oh, yes, no. Yes, no. So let's look at this question, because a lot of people have been, and I understand why a lot of people have been asking this question. It seems to have been coming up more and more and more, and I'm not sure why. I haven't figured that one out yet. But yes, no is meant to be used in a situation where you as the reader or whoever, or the client, has a choice. It's not meant to be used as a fortune-telling thing. And I know people don't understand that sometimes, because we think, I'm going to go to my tarot reader and it's going to say, okay, I'm either going to get this job or I'm not going to get this job. Yes, no. Now, the problem with that is it gives you nothing to work with. It gives you, if the answer's negative, then you've got nothing to go. You go cry into your pillow. Or if the answer's positive, you think, oh well, cool, I'm getting the job. I don't really need to even prepare for the interview. So both ways, you're doing yourself a disservice. It's much better when you have a choice. So say, for example, and again, I go into incredible depth. Like, I'm talking hours and hours of samples in my career reading course that follows this one. I do suggest that one, the How to Give Career Readings and Life Purpose Readings, because I give you so many examples of how to use yes, no to improve your job situation in a better way than the fortune telling, and doesn't leave you crying in your pillow. And you want to make sure that it's almost a bit more like the multiple choice thing, where you're saying, okay, is this the best course or the best path for me to be following right now? And then you pull a card for that. And then you go, or am I better off following this one? And then pull a card for that. So it's almost about making sure in every time you read for the tarot, the object is not fortune telling. The object is, what can I do to improve my life? And that's why, as those of you who've been with me a long time know, what do I need to know about this gives you a better overall anyway than yes, no. But if you're really keen on a yes, no, just make sure there's some kind of choice or element for you involved. It's just a much easier way of going about it, and it doesn't deny you your soul purpose and your destiny. Can you guys see the sun keeps coming out? That's why my face is fading. I just realised what it is. It's the clouds. So yes, I hope that helps my yes, no people that get confused about it. The will I, won't I, give yourself a choice, okay? Do yourself a favour and make sure that you have a way to conquer whatever's standing in your way. And your clients too, make sure they've got a choice. Make sure they've got a way to walk away with, I call it your homework. Like, at the end of a reading, you want your client to walk away and have things to do. And I don't mean like necessarily go and take a whole lot of potions, but just have things on their mindset, or things to keep in mind, or things to sort of go back and reflect on, so that if they come and see you again, you can say, so how does that go? How are you feeling about that? Are you feeling better? So in that way, as a tarot reader, you become like a healer. You are basically moving them forward on their journey. But yes, no can't really do that, because it just becomes pure fortune telling. And then what often happens, and I wanted to sort of segue into this as well, is often yes, no gets turned into a problem because you might get it wrong. And then I've seen a lot of that popping up, and someone says, "Will I get a job?" Yes, no. And they come back and said, "Well, my client didn't get the job. What does this mean?" And this is why, if you are a beginner reader, please steer clear of these questions, because the tarot cards do take time to learn, and they do have multiple layers. Like, a negative card doesn't always mean a negative card. So something like the Eight of Cups might mean you're moving away from something, but it doesn't mean a no. And also keep in mind, like, you might not get a job, but then 3 months later they call you back and give you a different job that you want more, or another job comes along that you go, actually I never really wanted that job, and you change your mind and don't even go for the interview. So keep in mind the sort of fluidity of our complicated lives, and know that it's much better to sort of do a more detailed spread, but also know that it's better to give yourself a choice. Every time you do a reading, you want choice to be a factor in it. You don't want just to say, the universe has to give me this answer, and if it's a bad answer, then my life is bad. If it's a good answer, my life is good. Because our lives are just so much more complex than that. They're so much more beautiful and rich and challenging than that. And also, what I tend to find when people treat the tarot like that is they start to hate it. And that's a harsh word, but they do. They start to resent readers. They don't like their readers because their readers got something wrong, or they don't like the tarot because it's always giving them this bad news, and it's not giving them anything where they're seeing progress in their life. And that's because there's no choice. So you've got to bring choice into the factor of it. Now, talking about that yes, no, and if I have a choice, and should I move on, and what I should do with those kind of questions. Something that also a lot of people have been posting about recently has been getting, what happens when you get questions wrong. Now, I've got a video on my YouTube channel about overcoming cloudy readings and why that might be. And I was thinking this morning about going a bit deeper into that in this seminar. So there's a list of 10 different reasons why a reading can be wrong. And I do highly recommend, and I will pop that in here as well, that free resource. But also consider, if you are beginning, like you're just doing this course, Tarot Card Success, you haven't done any more of my more advanced courses or my intermediate courses, you're just getting started, you're just getting familiar, then it is going to be logical that you're not always going to get things as right, because as I said, you don't know the nuances of the cards and how they all fit together. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't be reading, but it does mean, keep in mind that you're not expected to be reading like you've been reading for 10 years at this level, and that the more you practice and the more you study and the more you embrace and understand what the cards mean in different positions and in different questions and with the client's own unique story, then the more that you're going to nail it. Like, the more you'll be like, oh, okay, no, I get that now, and I get that how it works. But probably the biggest, most common thing that goes wrong for me, what I see it with beginners, and what I see, and when I was a beginner, I fumbled as a beginner for a long time, is that they're asking the wrong questions. So that's probably my biggest thing, that you're asking the wrong questions as a beginner. Now, if you're a seasoned and experienced reader, you can get more out of really complicated questions. And even if it's a question that I say is not a good question to answer, if that makes sense. So, for example, when someone posts on the Q&A board or in here the questions that I'm not a fan of, like what does he think of me and all that kind of stuff, I can, or, will I get this job? And I can look at that because I've been reading for a really long time, and I can actually kind of know what's going on. But that's only because I've been reading for so long, and I've studied so much, and I've had so many mentors, and I can see what's going on even though I don't like the question, basically. If you're beginning, you're not going to be able to have that straight away. That takes time and practice, because tarot is a beautiful craft that takes the time and the practice. So don't beat yourself up if you get something wrong, because you might have asked a question and not seen all the nuances of even what a negative or a positive card can mean in a certain position, because there's so much depth. So just keep that in mind. But again, always, for me as a beginner, default to the what do I need to know? That's the best way to ask a question. And also knowing the nuances of when someone, and this often happens, people get tripped up a lot. When someone asks 2 questions in one question, there's no better way to confuse the tarot than, am I on the right career path, and should I take this new job? because they are two completely separate questions. So always do two different readings for something like that, because you're just going to muddle the cards. They won't know what's going on. They won't know what you most want to know. And as the reader, you won't know how to interpret that. So just keep that in mind as well. Now, so what do they feel about me? Now, this is another very popular one. And you will get, now, can I just first ask, if you are in this group and you are watching this now, if you've done it in the past, please don't worry. This isn't a shame game, but please never ask a reader that question. Just don't ask them. Like, what does he think of me, or what does she think of me, is a really bad question for the tarot. I don't like to say bad, it's probably the wrong word. It's just an awkward, icky, not great question. And at the end of the day, you're not really going to get what you want out of answering that question a lot of the time. Because the tarot, for me, I believe that question confuses the tarot, because there are so many different levels to what another person thinks of us, first of all. A person could think that you are attractive, but there's something about you that they're not sure of, and they've got their own stuff going on and they're busy working, but they may be interested, but they may be holding back. They don't know if you're interested in someone else. There is no way to put that in a tarot reading, or especially in one card. Or they may think that they want to have sex with you, but they don't really want a long-term commitment out of you. Again, where do you go with that one? If you're an ex, they may think, yes, they really, really loved you, and that shows up as a lot of love in the card. But just because they really, really loved you means they want to get back together. So think about what your client or yourself, what is your objective? What's your ultimate higher purpose in asking this question? Like, what do you really want out of the reading? So when your client comes to you and says, I just want to know what he thinks of me, you get a lot of these, especially on the chat lines as well. Just say, okay, what do you really want? Like, do you want to get back to it? Is that what, do you want to spy on his thoughts? And I know why you want to, because you're hurting and you're confused. Or do you want to know if he's the right man for you? Because surely that's a better question. And surely that's going to get you what you want in the long run. Like, someone can be madly in love with you. And I've had this show up in readings before, where I've seen that someone is connected very deeply on a past life, that they're in love with this person, but still they never end up together. And we probably know friends of ours have seen this happen, because life gets in the way. So there's not really a way to sort of communicate that in a reading, unless you say, what do I know? What do I need to know about the future of this relationship? Or what is the future of this relationship? So keep that in mind with card readings. If someone, and again, I'll give you a great example. I saw this recently in a reading where someone says, what does he think of me? And they pulled a Queen of Wands. So you'd think, so he thinks that I'm fiery and I'm energetic and that I'm passionate and that I'm a good leader. And like, what do we do with that? We can't. Does that mean he's going to propose to me? Like, we don't know where to go with that. Like, so you want to make sure you're turning this into something that has a higher objective than just worrying or spying on other people thinking. Basically, is my loving way of trying to connect that. Now, please don't. By the way, I'm not judging anyone. I have asked the cards these questions. I have wanted to know what an ex thinks of me. I've wanted to know if someone I'm interested in, obviously before my husband's time, what they think of me. I have done all this, and I've learned that it actually doesn't really get me very far. So that's why I'd love to teach you a better way of doing this. And as I said, in the Love Readings course, I have a whole entire chapter section module on what does he think of me, or what does she think of me, and how you can identify better answers to that. So I hope that's helped with that time-honoured one. So I'm going to start to answer some questions. So I'll go back, and if you've got them in, pop them now. Now, before I do, I just have to go a little bit negative, and my apologies. There was an incident that seemed to happen in about 2 or 3 hours yesterday, because I was there in the beginning of the day and not the end, where a whole lot of stuff went on. Basically, someone made a mistake, posted the wrong thing, didn't offer their own interpretation first, just posted, what does everyone think of this? Arguments ensued. I won't go into the whole details. People got angry, people got aggressive, people felt bullied, people felt harassed, people felt, etc., etc., etc. Now, the first thing I'll say, and I'm going to preface this, obviously, the first thing is, please always be kind to people. No matter what they're saying, if they've got something wrong, if they've made a mistake, no one is more frustrated when people break the rules in this group than I am. Like, for me, I would so much rather be in here answering your questions and helping you with your tarot journey, helping you become professional readers, helping you solve your life problems and your clients' problems by answering questions, than deleting your report or post because you haven't taken the time to read the rules. Like that to me, that my option A and B, please, I want to be helping. I don't want to be deleting. And other people in this group get very frustrated when they constantly have to remind people of the rules. So people who do remind people of the rules, thank you, because you make my job so much more easier, and I'm in debt to how much I appreciate you doing that when I come in and realise someone's already, managed that for me, because obviously I can't be in Facebook 24 hours a day. But can I say to those people who don't read the rules, can I say, like, if someone points out that you've broken the rules, can you please not attack them, or please not argue with them? Can you just apologise and delete your post, or edit the post? Now, don't edit in the comments, edit it in when you first commented it. Just click the 3 dots and then change it, or just delete the post. Like, that's all you need to do. You don't need to engage in arguments with other people about who's the rule maker and who made you God. And I'm not saying that happened yesterday, but it's happened in other groups. Like those kind of comments aren't helpful at all. But can I also say to those of you who are pointing out the rules, like, just report it and move on. Don't engage, and there's never any reason to use nasty language. There's never any reason to attack people. Even if you personally are feeling frustrated and personally have an opinion about them, just move on. We don't need to turn it into, as I've mentioned yesterday in the post, a bushfire. We don't need to set the whole group on fire. Report it, move on. The Facebook group thing, I'm so close to creating a course on Facebook groups. I'm this close. It's in my thing of like, should I just do this? But part of the energy of Facebook groups, and it's one of the saddest things, is that we all say things that we would never say to someone's face. And it's really important that we learn how to, since Facebook groups are one of the new ways we're going to be communicating as human beings, it's really important that we learn how to just move on from things and not engage, because our energy just gets thrown out. And unfortunately, the more people comment, the more it goes to the top, the more other people jump in, the more, we've seen what's going on in the US right now with politics, and, it's just a catastrophe when people just jump in, and often people jump in and they don't know the full story, and then more misunderstandings happen, and then it just turns into a situation where everybody feels like rubbish. Nobody walks away going, I'm so glad we did that. That felt really good. I'm ready to meditate now. Like, no one does that. So please, if you see any arguments going on, report them. If you see someone breaking the rules, just, report it, or just comment kindly. And if you are and again, please, when you watch the video to get in this group, I tell you all the rules. There's no reason no one should know the rules, not know them. And I know people make mistakes, but when you get tagged in, you also get all the rules. The top of the banner of this, click for the guidelines. So there's 3 opportunities to know before you post. And I know that, some of us are busy, but it's really important that you respect the community and the people that get frustrated with those of you who don't read the rules, if that makes sense, because it's not fair on them, because people in the group are doing the right thing and they see all these other people just going in and not taking that time. So I hope that has dealt with that, and that we have a whole new burst of love. And hey, look, I don't usually like to just chalk things up to astrology, but it is an intense time right now. We are, I think it's a Saturn retrograde or Saturn thing. It's also going into retrograde Mercury, so communication's always going to be a little bit topsy-turvy, and people will say things they don't mean or get misinterpreted. And it's an eclipse. And, so we've got a lot of stuff going on, basically, a lot of stuff going on out there. So you could spend this full moon, which is tonight in my country and will be tomorrow night for others, just letting go of anything that's stopping you from achieving your goals, like anything that you feel like, whatever it is. Don't feel like you have to actively do stuff, but just ask the universe to just release it from you. And I will do that with the beautiful group as well, that we let go of what we don't need. So I'm now going to answer some questions, my favourite thing to do. I hope that's helped everybody and settled the energy a bit. Okay, so Jessie asked, how do I feel about agnostic people reading tarot cards? That's really interesting, because For me, you don't have to believe in God to read tarot cards. You don't have to believe in angels. You don't have to believe in ascended masters. Tarot exists on another totally different level. So the only time I would say you have to, I mean, it's interesting because I get this in my How to Be Psychic course. I have a lot of beautiful Hindi students, and they are worried because I teach about angels and spirit guides, that because they follow that their non-physical deities are Kali and Ganesha and Krishna, and so for them they get confused because they think, oh, I can't do this course. And it's like, no. Like calling in your guides or working with tarot cards or doing all that does not have to have any religion associated with it. Yes, some of this originated in religion, but interestingly enough, the tarot, it did in the way that monks in the 14th century were the first to kind of publicly use it. But if you think about the Golden Dawn, a lot of them were kind of going, so that's the founders of the modern tarot, Alexander Crowley and Arthur Waite. They were going in the opposite direction. Like they were not necessarily going, yay, Catholic Church. So you don't have to believe at all in it, in any of those, in sort of the, sorry, I just got distracted by Jennifer Thomas writing Outlander. So I don't know why she wrote it, and I've got to look. So you don't have to feel like you need to be any kind of religion or believe in God or believe in spirits or believe in higher forces to read tarot at all. Not at all, for me, in my opinion anyway. Okay, Jennifer, why did you write Outlander? Is that, North Carolina? Yes, I read those books 15 years ago and I love them so much. I do struggle with the series a bit, sorry. That's because they changed so much. But yes, for those who love them, sorry, I don't want to offend anyone who loves the Outlander series. It's just that I'm so passionate about those books, especially the part set in North Carolina with all the traditional Indian medicine, and they were just amazing. The series is good too, not that negative. Now, Candice, I'm struggling with moving from email type readings to video readings. It takes me a long time to process my thoughts as an introvert, but I'd love to do videos. My mind just goes blank when I'm staring at the camera, even though I read intuitively. And I know the card meetings. Email readings are my comfort zone, but I feel called to do videos. If you could maybe address that later, thanks. Any tips from the community also? Okay, so I do have a whole lot of stuff on this in my VIP course, so in my online, about how to do online readings, so I can recommend that too, about the difference between doing email and doing Zoom and doing phone readings. So I break that into all the different tricks and techniques I use. So that's on the Psychic Healing Academy, so reach out to me if you want to know more about that. But just in a little briefie, I would say what I would do, the first thing that came to me when you said that, is I would just start practicing with people you feel comfortable with. If you don't have any friends that you're comfortable with, but people who are going to, and they're not asking life and serious death questions. They're not asking, should I buy this house? Just like a little play, like what do I need to know for this week? And maybe do like a weekly check-in with them, like do a little 3-card with them, like how I'm doing now on Facebook Live, but just do it on Zoom, and then get back to them at the end of the week and say, how did that go? So or even probably a monthly reading is a bit better, but just, do something starting on a gentle way where you get used to doing it with someone you're really, really comfortable with, who's really supportive, and they're not asking questions that are going to be like, should I marry this person? Those kind of things. So what do I need to know about my journey this week? And practice small readings like that, doing it to camera with them, and then build yourself up slowly. That's what I would do in that situation. I just start very small with a supportive person. That would be is that me? Yes, it is. It's someone emailing me. So I hope that's helped, Candice. That's how I would just start. And as I said, like I do have more sort of deeper and longer strategies that go into my other course, but that's how I would look at. Also keep in mind with staring at the camera, I just sort of had another thought. So for me, when I look down at the cards, that's when I get the messages. So the messages come through about, okay, this is what this means. So feel free to say, look, I'm just going to close my eyes. Is that okay? Because most people are really fine with you closing your eyes. So just and ask them to close their eyes too, so you don't feel like a weirdo who's just got your eyes closed and they're staring at you like this. But just say, is it okay if we close our eyes? I'm just going to see what messages are coming through. That way, maybe having your eyes closed, you might feel a bit more comfortable about talking about it than actually looking at them. So try that too with a buddy. Try that as well. If anyone would like to practice with Candice, pop that in here, and you might be able to buddy up with some supportive trying with each other if anyone else is feeling nervous as well. You've taken those, Rosemary, great course. Is that the love course? Yes, the more you learn the cards, the more the intuition does kick in. And you do spreads daily. Awesome, Rosemary. Thank you, Cynthia. No worries, Nicole, about being late. Karen. Also welcome whether being an intuitive reader or being more psychic and using that in readings makes a difference in terms of accuracy. Look, it's a great question, and I often get asked this. So when I learned, the person that taught me and the materials said, no, you don't need to be psychic to give readings. The cards will tell the story. But, and I will say that I 100% agree that if you study it enough and it fits into place, but intuition helps you in those moments where it's up to you to decide what the meaning is of a card and the context. So what I mean by the context is not obvious. So, you know, as I said, the difference, so as I said before, the difference between what a king might mean in a career reading, if you're trying to start your own business, and what a king might mean in a love reading and you're a female looking for a male, like, are two different things. So contextually, you would not need intuition so much for that, because the question makes it obvious. But in the case, because, and this is one of the things that people find frustrating, and when I do the reversals course, you'll see the frustration too, it's even worse in reversals, is that because some tarot cards can have multiple meanings, it's going to be up to you as the reader to decide. So intuition makes that easier, I guess, is the best way to go to answer that. Like, intuitively, you feel like, no, I feel like it means this. Context does help. It's a little bit like, I'm going to try and give you an analogy. Now I've got to think about it. It'll come to me. I'll come up with an analogy. Sailing and boats is in there. But yeah, so you don't have to have it, but it does help and enhance your readings a lot. You know, so that's why when people are struggling with intuition for me, I often say, look, go and do How to Be Psychic, or go and, you know, learn how to connect more with your guides, or learn how to do those clairvoyant exercises, because it can bring in more information. But that doesn't mean a reading cannot stand on its own. And there's been times where I've been tired and I'm like, okay, my clairvoyance isn't working today. I'm just relying on the cards. The story is going to, and it's been just as great a reading. And I know that because they're my regulars and they've told me, wow, that was fantastic. So, you know, it doesn't have to be, but yes, it can enhance in certain situations. And also, obviously, I guess the second reason is sometimes, and I've talked about this before in quite bigger depth, the tarot can't answer every question in the universe. Like, it's not meant to answer certain questions. And so it's, you know, so intuition is what answers those kind of questions. So, for example, like, you know, okay, so you're going to get a job working in a real estate agent, and then you're going to work there for 2 years, and then you're going to go on a trip to Spain, and then while you're in Spain, you're going to meet someone, and they're going to teach you about how to renovate villas, like all that information. That doesn't exist in a tarot card. You might get things that would point to that, like world travel. You might get, like meeting someone who's going to help you on your journey, the Fool. But you're not necessarily, and, you know, home renovations, like with the Four of Wands, but you wouldn't necessarily get Spain and all those kind of details. So intuition does help with that kind of further detail, if that helps. I hope that helps. Nicole, I started reading for others and later lost connections with my cards for a few days now. Okay, now you're just saying it's just for a few days. Don't worry, this is actually quite common, and sometimes it can just mean that your third eye, or that your being, or that your cards or yourself is just overwhelmed, and you might just need a break. So it might say to yourself, I'm going to take 2 weeks off or a week off and not do any readings. As you said, it might be that they just need to be cleared, but it might be that you've got to process some soul stuff on another level. So one of my great mentors, who I used to manage in the shops, Intra, she always used to say to me when she came in to work, if for some reason it was a slow day for people coming in to get psychic readings, she would just say, oh, well, today I'm meant to be working on my soul. I'm meant to be working on my stuff, and I'm meant to be working on my journey instead. And so I would take some time, Nicole, to say, okay, maybe the next few weeks I'm just going to work on journaling or my soul journey, or doing some healing or getting some healing, take a break, and then go back in, because it might be that there's just something that needs to be tweaked in your little beautiful soul journey. Losing connection with the cards doesn't mean it's going to last forever. It happens to the best of us. It just means you might need to just take a little bit of time out. Hey, You took the love readings course and it's helpful. Thank you. Hello, Leslie. Lynn. So when someone asks you a question that you know the tarot isn't good for answering, do you rephrase it for them so it's more appropriate to answer? That's a great question. Okay, so I think it's okay to point out to them that yes, rephrase it. So, okay, because obviously if they've come to see you for a tarot reading and they're asking a question that needs psychic answers, like real full-on information, and that's not where you are at yet, like you don't feel comfortable that you're downloading that information quick enough, then you could say to them, okay, that's more of a psychic reading and I do tarot, but let's see how I can help you, like by rephrasing this. So what is it you most want to know? And yeah, rephrase it to what do I need to know? If it's about a choice they need to make, if it's about, I mean, it would depend obviously on the question, but things like, where was it the other day? Oh, okay. So someone the other day asked me a question about IVF and said, should I do this reading? You know, she wants to know, should I go for my second round of IVF? Now, keep in mind, the tarot, obviously, you know, when modern tarot came out, IVF didn't exist. So there's no IVF card that says, yes, this is the path you should follow. There are choices cards about, as I said, yes, no. But IVF in my country, I know, costs at least $11,000. In the States, I assume it costs more. And friends and clients of mine that have gone through it will tell you that you have to take days off work. It's intense as an experience. It can be damaging for your marriage. I cover this a lot in the Master Health Readings and Psychic Wellness course about fertility readings. But I would say that, you know, with those kind of questions, you maybe want to connect more in with guides and angels and say, okay, what does this person need to know to heal to make this choice? Because they have to make a choice. Should I go with it, rather than pick one card? Yes, go with IVF. It's a positive, you know. And they run off and spend all that money, and then it doesn't work out. And there might have been a deeper lesson they needed to learn. So I would just say yes. Always rephrase the question whenever you can. That would be my default, and rephrase it to, how will this path unfold if I choose this way, or what can I do, or what do I need to know? So giving them power back. So I hope that's helped, Lynn. Yes, Andrew, yes, moving on is better than getting pulled into a drama. Love the feedback template, yes. So those of you who haven't seen this yet, for probably about a couple of years now, we have a feedback template system in this group, and it's in the pinned post. If you're getting feedback, or if you're offering readings for feedback, please send them the template, because the template has reduced people not getting your feedback back by at least 90%. So that way they have to give you a password, there's all these things, they have to hoops they jump through so that you know they're really going to give you the feedback. They're not just taking up an opportunity for a free reading. Hello, NY, I know that one too because it's easy. It's New York, completely falling apart. Don't feed into the negativity, because negativity will follow. Stay positive and positively will follow. Yes, Maria, it's so true. We do have to try to separate ourselves, even though as humans we can get very addicted to the drama. We can call that one the Five of Wands. If you're looking for a tarot interpretation of that. The moon is gorgeous. You just took pictures. Awesome. From Toronto. Catherine, am I going to have a course on astrology? I would love to, except I don't know enough. Like that's, I'm one of these people that I have to feel like I can nail it in my readings or know how to do it myself. I do have astrology as a small section in my advanced tarot training, my 3-month program. It is in there and how it connects with it, but it's not a full in-depth like Vedic astrology or a full in-depth astrology, because that's not my strength. It's something that I have some knowledge of, but it's not my genius zone. So that's why it's not something I'd probably ever go and teach unless, you know, I'm not saying never, maybe in 5 years' time if I went off and studied it and practiced it with people and then did it. But I don't feel confident enough to do an entire course on astrology. So sorry about that. Now, if you're laughing because my Sal Jade Clairvoyant Healer Facebook page, my business page where I do free weekly tarot readings, says Sal Jade Psychic and Astrology, that's because Facebook doesn't give me any opportunity to get rid of that. You're either that or you are in health and beauty. And I'm not really in health and beauty, so that's why it says astrology on my Facebook page. No, you didn't miss the reversals course release. It hasn't been released yet. I still don't know when. there's been a few obstacles and a few things that have gotten in the way, and then there's been a latest little upset from you to me that I'm trying to navigate and negotiate. So I will be broadcasting and announcing and shouting from the hills when that is ready, my love. So no, it hasn't been released yet. Hi, Susanna. Okay, Maria, having a hard time remembering each card meaning. For me, the best advice with this is to go back to the beginning, and when you and whenever I've said, like, take 3 dot points that you think what this card means and then associate it with an experience in your life or an experience in someone else's life, So the Ace of Cups, like, when have you fallen in love? When have you opened up your heart and been ready for love and then that person's come in? The Two of Cups, like, when have you felt like together as a team you can achieve more? When the Seven of Cups, when have you felt like you've got 7 options in front of you and you don't know which one to choose? So go through and make a personal association with as many cards as you can. The ones that you can't, the ones you go, this has never happened to me, think about a movie or a television series or a friend that has gone through that. As soon as you can put it into your own experience, you'll remember them much easier. That will be my first big tip, and to keep practicing. Oh, tarot and Lenormand cards. Now, I'm sorry because I don't know that much about the Lenormand cards, but I think they are based on the French system that came out of the Marseille deck, I think. And if I get howled out of town about this, I'm so sorry. I don't know enough, so I can't answer that completely, so I don't want to set you off on a path. But my understanding, and I could be wrong, is that there's been like a bit of a split in the way, like around about the 1700s, with the direction of tarot, and one went one way and one went the other. That's what I think it is, but I could be wrong. So I don't know enough about that. Sorry, my love, but now I'm going to find out, and then I'll know. Oh, Candace, I love this. For those of you who obviously you're not reading it because you're watching it, but Candace gave some really good advice to Jess about doing them as a video. Learn how to edit your videos, record your video all the way through with the mistakes, then edit it. Knowing you're editing it later will allow you to focus on your intuition in the moment of the reading. That's really great advice, Candace. I love that. Thank you. The love course was great, Rosemary. Thank you. Oh, during video reading, is it better to have the camera on you or the cards? Oh, that's a good question. I can't believe no one's ever asked me that question in like 13 years I've been doing this. Look, I think for me, the way I do a reading is I prefer it on me, and me connecting with them, rather than the cards. But it would depend on, I'll give you 2 examples. If I'm doing a reading where I'm teaching a course, so as I said, in the love readings course and the intermediate courses, you'll see me do lots of readings and samples. So I do Celtic crosses and other ones, and the camera is on my cards then. But if I'm doing a one-on-one reading with someone, so I'm not teaching it, then I will be me talking and I will hold up a card. So I'll generally, and I don't always hold up every card, because sometimes I want to be in the flow and I'm connecting it all together, but I will, and some of other things that are coming through, I don't need to pull every card, but if it's a card that's standing out, I go, so you pulled the Emperor, so what I feel like this means for you is X, Y, Z. But I don't do that with every single card. I mean, it's different for every reader. So some readers might pull they might not need me to pull the 3 of Cups. So I can actually just blend it into the reading organically. It doesn't need to be identified that, so you got the 3 of Cups. So it's different. Practice both ways and see which one you prefer. But if I'm teaching, or so say if I was going to put up a video on YouTube or something like that, then I'd probably point it at the cards if I was teaching. But if I was doing a reading, I tend to like to connect with people. People, when you're doing a reading for them, like to be able to look you in the eyes if it's that situation. It feels a bit more connected than just looking at the cards. I hope that's answered the question, Jennifer. Oh, thank you. Karen says, can I say the method you use in the VIP course is very, very effective. It doesn't matter what oracle deck I use. Thank you. Do you mean that the clairvoyant healing thing or the actual, I know, with the online readings. Yes. Thank you, Karen. Oh, so who said that? Lynn. So I have a VIP 3-month tarot training certification program. And in this, you go through the more advanced stuff in tarot, like so in terms of like that more mystical stuff. So you go into symbolism and mythology and numerology and astrology and colour and I'm forgetting it all. There's a bit on reversals in there, and I go into as well how to do online reading. So I break up how to do Zoom, how to do phone chats, how to get work on phone line readings, how to do an email reading, all the things you need to do with that, how to create templates. And then I go into more advanced channeling and clairvoyant healing. So working with guides to go in on a deeper level when you're doing it with a reading and combining tarot and oracle card readings. And then I go into a whole psychic business section. So that's about how to run an online tarot business. That's kind of a third of the course, a third of the program, and how to set up everything from Canva to marketing, making an offer on Facebook, making an offer on YouTube, blogging, so the whole kit and caboodle, and all the business aspects, and how to plan your business and get that stuff out, generate content. And I also do a Zoom session with you where I will test your reading skills against another student, and I certify you for insurance and do a whole lot of other stuff like that with you as well. And you get to appear on my kind of Sal Jade graduates recommend page on my website. When people ask me for reading recommendations, I send them to the graduates. So that is, sometimes I do it every second year as a live version with coaching calls, which is about $700 US. Right now I'm not running it with the coaching calls, so it's much less. It's like at least a third less. So you can find out more about that. I'll pop it in here. See if I can pop it. If you just go to Sal Jade, I'll just pop it at the end. I'll pop it at the end. If you go to my website, www.saljade.com, and go to where it says work with me and you click on the advanced tarot and you go to that, or you can actually just email me at team@saljade.com if you want to know more. You don't want to just read the website. So I hope that helped. Rosemary, I always start with please reveal to me what I need to know about. I love that, Rosemary. Why I love that, thank you, Rosemary, for that, is because it's so gentle. And that's the thing, like when you're going after these hardcore fortune-telling answers, like will I get this, is he in love with me, those kind of things, you're taking away, like, what the tarot is meant to reveal to you and what you need to know in this moment for your life. And I talk about this a lot in the career readings course as well, that think about your job experience up until now and think about all the times you've gotten a job, lost a job, had your heart broken by a job, been bullied by a boss, et cetera, et cetera. Like, would you really want to have a reading when you're 21 years old that goes through and tells you that entire journey? Like, you would probably go, that's it, I'm going to be a monk and go and live in a nunnery or a convent because I cannot, an abbey, because there's no way I want to put myself out into the world. So sometimes just asking that question, what do I need to know? Like, please reveal to me what I need to know now, in this moment. Not in 5 years' time, but right now. Things that I can work with and shift and heal and remove and improve and change. That's what you're looking for when you're doing the readings. So I thank you for that, Rosemary. Hi, Lynn. Sal has details about it. It's very effective. Thank you. Thank you. Need to learn how to edit. Yes, it's a skill. Thank you for so encouraging. You are welcome. You're an inspiration. Oh, thank you so much, Candice. Knight of Cups, Glory of Love. Yes, I love that song. Okay, thank you. That helps. Maybe if you just keep the camera on the cards, that would help instead of your face. Yes, that's a great suggestion too. Just start with on the cards and just point at it like you'll see me do, and in my intermediate ones, just point, and then when you feel comfortable, you can go back up. Thank you, Candice. Advanced course is in now. You're in it. Oh, you've signed up for the Career and Life Purpose. Thank you. That's the most recent one I've released. I love that course. There's so much in there. Hello from Singapore. Oh, you've just joined from last weekend and you're enjoying so far. Hope you're able to cope. You will, Lee. Take your time. Be gentle with yourself. And just, for me, like, the more you just practice and have fun with it, definitely the better it is. Okay. So, Shreya, time is so interesting with the tarot. Thank you for asking this question. So, For me, in general, especially when you are a beginner, okay, it gets different when you get more advanced and go into the higher courses and the higher levels. But in the beginning, just stick to the time frames that I teach in this course. So just stick to the next few months with a 3-card reading. Stick to like, what do I need to know in the next few months? Stick to the horseshoe and the Celtic cross, which give you what's going to happen in the next few, what's happening now, next few months, next 12 months. So stick to those 3 basic ones for now until you know the cards really well, until you feel like, okay, I'm getting better. When you go into the intermediate level courses, so the love readings course and the career readings course, I go much deeper in how to get more specific with the time. So how to do that. But also I'm going to preface that sometimes we are not meant to get that kind of time. And that's because we all have a soul journey. Now, I'm going to give you an example. Say, and I mentioned it before, say, for example, when will I get a job? And you pull a card and it feels like it's going to be November because Scorpio, you pulled a Scorpio card, which takes place in November. That's one way that some people use. And you go, oh, okay, I'm going to get a job in November. And then you go, well, I have to do much because I know I'm getting this job. And then you might get a little, intuitive nudge. Oh, maybe I need to study up a bit more on my Excel because I might need to know Excel for this. No, it's all right because I know I'm getting the job. It's fine. I'll learn on the job, blah, 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 blah. And then you get in there and then you got the job and they say, can you do Excel for us? And it's like, oh, no, but can I just learn? And they go, no, I'm sorry, we need someone who can do this now. Your workmates start judging you. It starts off on the wrong foot. And that's because you thought, well, I'm getting a job then, so I don't have to do much. Like, we get lazy with when predictions. The other thing is we get disappointed when they don't work out. Time is such an interesting thing. Like, when will I meet my soulmate? If it hasn't come and you've said it's going to come in February, like say an Aquarius card like the star in February, and you think, oh, okay, it says Aquarius, and to say it doesn't come, what do? You walk away and think, I'm never going to meet my soulmate. They said it would come in February and it didn't come. That's it. I give up. I'm not going to be in love. I'm going to die old and unhappy. And what do you think that does to your vibration when it comes to meeting a new person? So for me, time is so limited. Use it in small doses is what I would say. So yes, you can use it as a star sign thing, but I would really, really not use that all the time. I'd make sure you're feeling very experienced in it. So as I said, I teach you how to do that in the career readings course. I wouldn't be doing it when you're just learning the cards because it's too much pressure and you might not understand what it means. Hope that helps. Shreya? Now remember, other readers might feel differently, but most of the readers I know, the time thing, you've got to allow for our soul journeys. So start, how I said, just start in the next 12 months and get that happening first. Rosemary and Candace are talking about reversals. I always read them and now you want to stop and you're going back and forth. Look, as I've mentioned to a lot of people before, 50% of people don't read reversals. Like, I read this hilarious blog the other day because I'm doing my reversal course and I know how to do them. I've got all the information I need, but I thought, I want to see what other people are saying about reversals because they're like 3 times, in my opinion, as complicated as uprighted cards. So I ran off and I had a look at a blog and it's a very funny blog. The whole thing was all about, these are different ways you can read reversals, But to be honest, it's so complicated. And they got to the end, that's why I don't read reversals. And I was like, oh, okay. Okay, so you've just told me all the reasons why and that's why you don't read it, which I totally honour. But, they're complicated. So if you feel like you don't want to read them, don't feel like you have to. And I know Heather mentioned a while ago, they only introduced reversals in 1785 into the tarot. So tarot existed centuries before that. So just keep that in mind as well. So Jennifer, if a client doesn't have a specific question, then just do a general 7-card spread or I just do a Celtic cross. But I'm not a fan of people say, I don't really have a specific question. So it's like, okay, so why are you here? Are they just looking for fortune telling advice? So when you're 60, you're going to meet someone and you're going to go off to Spain. Like, what would you like out of the reading is a good question. So what would you like to get out of the reading? And then if that question makes them start to think, oh, well, I'm not sure about my job right now, or I'm thinking about moving house, because sometimes people go along and they might not have a specific question, but really they do. So just stick with you can do the current energy and future energy, but I would just do a basic general and say, okay, well, this feels like what's going to be happening for you in the next 12 months. Thank you. You love my course so much. Thank you, Shreya. You'd recommend Rider Waite. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. So I think thank you for staying with me. I think that has covered everything. Now, if you're watching the replay, just put #replay, because sometimes people pop in and think I'm still here live. They're asking me questions and they get angry that I don't reply, and it's because it's 2 a.m. and I'm asleep and this is finished. So if you're not, and you can know by checking the time thing at the top. Yeah, Celtic Cost. Yeah, I agree. Okay, thanks guys. One last chance to pop any questions in. Again, those of you who asked about, I'll pop all the links in here. So just check the comments about that video I talked about the 3 keys to starting an online business, the overcoming cloudy readings, and the 3-month training program, the VIP one as well. Do I always use the same deck for readings? No. That's a great question. Sometimes I will feel like I want to do the Psychic Tarot. I do the Psychic Tarot a lot in my intermediate courses. You'll see there's quite a dominance of that. Sometimes I feel like it needs to be Rider Waite. So, yeah, and then sometimes I love to play with Morgan Greer. So, I don't always use the same one. Thank you, Lynn. It was a great session. But look, it's weird, Suzanne. It's like you kind of start to know, like, don't overthink that one. Like if you suddenly like, yeah, and for the way it works for me is a client comes and then I'm suddenly like, this person needs this deck. And I run out and grab it. Like I haven't thought that they needed it before. So that often can happen too. I have them shuffle. I shuffle first. So you'll see me do that in one of the very last lectures of this course. I think it's number 76 in Tarot Card Success. So I shuffle first and then I hand it to them and then I get them to shuffle and then it comes back to me. Rosemary. I have 7 decks, but I always use Rider Waite. Yes, you'll see me cut it as well. I cut it in that as well. I cut it into 3. I don't do it with Oracle cards. I don't cut them into 3. Don't ask me why. It just doesn't feel right. But I do with Tarot. I cut them into 3. I hope that helps everybody. So any little final questions, pop them in now. And so those of you who arrived late, you can just, we've been going for about an hour or something. So you might just want to go back to the beginning. And if not, I will bid you all farewell and happy big full supermoon, Mercury retrograde. Be really, you don't have to get fear-based about it, but do be careful in your communication in the next weeks. And you never let anyone touch them. Yes, but do be careful just in what you say to people. Just keep kindness in your heart as much as you can. What do I do if my tarot card gets dirty? That's a good question. So it depends on, I would obviously clean it off if I can, but if it's like fallen in the mud, and I can't get it off, I might maybe buy a new deck, I think. But do try to, I try to keep mine in the pouch as much as possible. I've got a little pouch, or you could use a silk scarf or a Pashimar shawl. They are good for those. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so if anyone's got any more questions, no, I will bid farewell. Thank you so much for coming. I'm going to upload this now. So if you've got more questions, just pop them in there and then I'll pop those links I mentioned in too. Thank you.